still feel guilty. The guilt means your work is not yet finished.
Downtown office thinks we got a new player in Hell's Kitchen.
What do they want?
The DA's office says the shooter's independent.
He's tracking gangs to their home turf and taking them out with military precision.
With knowledge and hardware to take out half the city, Hell's Kitchen is about to explode.
Bang.
Maybe we created him. All of us.
There's no connection.
We never stopped to think that Daredevil's actions could open the door for men like this.
How much longer before innocent people start getting caught in his crossfire? Blood is being shed.
And you donated more than your fair share.
The city needs him.
I need to take care of the scum that killed my family. People don't have to die. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. Why are you doing this?
Because I think you're a half measure. I think you're a man who can't finish the job. I think that you're a coward. You know, you're one bad day away from being me.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we love talking about movies and more. I'm your host, Mason Phillips, and today we have a review for Daredevil Season 2. Before we get any further in this video, I want to ask you guys to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about the plot. Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer by day who fights crime at night, crosses paths with the deadly Frank Castle, also known as the Punisher, along with the return of an old girlfriend, Elektra Nachos. I'm spoiling stuff right now out the gate. I told you in the last video, I'm not really going to be doing the basic spoiler warnings like I do for movies. When it comes to TV shows, I can't really talk about TV shows in the way I like unless I can spoil them a little bit. So that's how I'm going to be reviewing TV shows. So there you go. Daredevil Season 1 is one of my all-time favorite seasons of TV ever. And Daredevil Season 2 is really, really good. I would say it's probably the weakest of the 3 seasons, but it's still really great television. And then great introductions. We have Jon Bernthal, who's introduced as the Punisher in this season. It's the first time we get to see his character of the Punisher in all of this MCU stuff, all these Netflix shows. And it's so cool that he's finally coming back in Daredevil Born Again. And of course, I love his own show, the Punisher TV show. Season 1, actually. I haven't seen Season 2. I'll be getting around to that very soon. But Season 1 is also one of my favorite seasons of TV of all time. Love the character of the Punisher. We go deeper into the character of Matt Murdock, his dual life as a vigilante and living his life as a lawyer. He's not really sure how to balance both sides of himself, because the Daredevil side of him really takes over in this season, especially with the introduction of Elodie Young's Elektra. She comes into this, and I also thought that she was a great addition to this season as well. The whole hand storyline, she's tied in with the hand and all that stuff that was going on. It was kind of set up a little bit in Season 1 of Daredevil, but it becomes a very prominent plot throughout all of Season 2, really leading up to everything that's going to be going down in the Defenders crossover series between Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. So that war that Stick was teasing in Season 1 of Daredevil, it's starting to get even stronger and getting closer here in Daredevil Season 2. He's recruiting people, you know, he's recruited Elektra in the past. That's revealed in this season that Stick recruited Elektra a long time ago. Things didn't work out with her, so he moved on to Matt, and that's how he got included into this whole thing with Stick. And it's cool how this all plays out. Matt and Karen get closer together. Their relationship seems to be going in a positive direction. Of course, Matt can't let his Daredevil side go. Gets in the way, and at this point, Karen doesn't know that Matt is Daredevil Daredevil. She doesn't learn until the end of season 2 that Matt has become Daredevil. When everything's really kind of falling apart, he just kind of comes to the end of himself, realizes he can't keep living this lie with her. So of course he reveals his secret to her. His secret was revealed to Foggy in the last couple episodes of season 1. So they have a bit of a strained relationship because Foggy still feels that Matt really kept this thing to himself. Thought they knew everything about each other, but there's one part of his life that he didn't know anything about. And although Matt is technically a hero, he's also still hurt a lot of people very close in his life. There's a lot of this back and forth between which side is going to win out. It's kind of like the story between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Who's the real person here? Is Batman the true side of this character? Is Bruce Wayne the true side of this character? Or do they meet somewhere in the middle? In the case of Batman, they kind of meet somewhere in the middle, and it's the same thing with Daredevil. That dual identity, there's somewhere in the middle where they're truly this character. He's not all Matt Murdock. He's not all Daredevil. He is truly one specific character. His whole worldview is kind of come into conflict on how he does things. Is he effective as Daredevil? The Punisher comes in and kind of shows him that maybe the way he's doing things is not the most effective way at stopping the bad guys. There's a great dialogue between Frank Castle and Matt Murdock and how they do things, how they fight crime, how they go about their life in a different way. And Punisher saying to Daredevil that your way is ineffective, your way isn't permanent, my way is permanent. I put the guys down and that's it. They don't come back, they're gone. And you see kind of how this all comes to play. This sets up the story of the Punisher and his origin story. It's kind of like a backdoor origin story for him. We'll go deeper into his story as we get into the Punisher series, but this really sets up everything that created this character. What happened to this character? How did Frank Castle become the Punisher? He goes from a guy who served in the military, he was away overseas, comes back home, and his whole family is gunned down in front of him, and it is so heartbreaking when you learn about what happens to him. There's a monologue that the Punisher gives in the graveyard, right as the Punisher is about to be arrested and taken in to the police. He's talking to Daredevil. You see this guy truly broken down, no walls up, gives it all, lays it all out for you, how he views the world, how things affected him, and how he misses his family. That this isn't just a psycho killer. He doesn't necessarily deal with things the way he should, but there is heart to this character at the end of the day. He's not a basic killer. There's more to him. He's a layered person. And that's what this show does really good. Each character is super layered. Punisher, Elektra, we go back into her story a little bit and how she got involved with Matt. It was stuff dealing with Stick in the Hand all the way back at the very beginning. She was involved with Stick. She was involved with the Chase, the group that Stick is involved with, fighting against the Hand, training to fight against the Hand. And then Elektra's worldview is completely changed when she learns that she's the Black Sky. She's the ultimate weapon of the Hand. And is she going to give into that identity? Is she going to form her own identity? This whole season is about identity. Who are you going to be? Who's going to form you? How's society going to see you? How are other people going to see you? Are you going to give into that, or are you going to live out the life that you want to live for yourself? Or are you going to meld the two together? How is this all going to play out? It's really cool the way that this whole season is structured. I have a little bit of issue with some of the structuring of the season. I'll get into that in the mixed, but as far as introducing these new characters, the Punisher and Elektra, we get more with Stick. Scott Glenn was great in season 1. We only had him in one episode in season 1. We get him in a couple more episodes here in season 2. He's always great as this old mentor to Matt Murdock. He's not really a friend to Matt Murdock, but he's also not his enemy. He does care about him on some level, and it's really cool seeing how all of these characters come together, how unfortunately everything fell apart with Nelson and Murdock. Foggy goes off and does his own thing. He actually joins up with Jerry Hogarth, who's from the Jessica Jones series, and so you kind of see how all these things are starting to come together. There's little name drops of Jessica Jones throughout this season, little mentions of Luke Cage from Jessica Jones. Claire mentions her little run-in with those two characters in the finale of Jessica Jones. Claire's in a few episodes here in season 2, and then everything that happens here in this season sets her on to go into the Luke Cage series and the Iron Fist series, leading into the Defender series. So you get these little drops of everything that's coming later down the line. This season sets up stuff for the future more so than season 1 did. Season 1 was pretty self-contained overall. There was just that one episode that included Stick that would be alluding to the Hand and everything going down, building up towards the crossover. Season 2 does a lot more of that building towards the crossover. However, season 2 also still has a story unto itself, so it's not all set up. That's all I got in the good section. Let's go ahead and move on to the mixed section of this season. The main thing I've got that's mixed is the dueling plots. There are story beats that are fighting for attention. You have all the stuff happening with the Hand that is introduced after about episode 4. So the first 4 episodes deal specifically with the Punisher and his introduction to the story, but his story is somewhat wrapped up in season 4, at least as far as what he was doing before he got arrested. That's all kind of wrapped up at the end of episode 4, and then at the end of that episode, it kind of bleeds into what the next storyline of the season is going to be, and it's the stuff when Elektra is introduced, everything dealing with the Hand and all that. So that kind of gets set up there. there in episode 4, and then the story merges and becomes something else entirely. And the Punisher stuff is still there. It's all intermingled as we go further on into the season. So it's nice that they didn't just abandon the Punisher storyline at the beginning of the season, but it's all mixed together. And I think that this season was fighting for attention on what it wanted to focus on. It also introduced the story between Matt and Karen and their relationship and them getting involved with each other. And then, of course, all the stuff with Matt and Elektra, and then all the stuff with the Punisher and Karen, and all of this stuff mixed in together. And then you have the beef between Matt and Foggy. There's so much stuff fighting for attention, and I feel like it can get a little muddled, not confusing, but there's just so much trying to vie for your attention, so much stuff that's fighting for that #1 spot in the plot. And unfortunately, I think the Hand story won at the end of the day, and I wish it was focused more on what was going on with the Punisher, because that was more interesting to me. I don't mind the stuff with the Hand, that is cool, but it's not the most interesting aspect of this season. So I think the Hand storyline, while it was fine, it's not the strongest, and I wish we had done more with the Punisher. I'm glad that eventually he did get his own show, so there is stuff to focus on with him later and other stuff, but this season just really didn't know what it wanted to do. It was trying to do way too many things, in my opinion, but it wasn't entirely bad. Overall, it did work. It's not like it was trying to do so much stuff that it all just failed and it was just a terrible season at the end of the day. No, it was a great season of television. I was still super entertained by all of it, but I think it was just trying to do way too much, and it should have just done 1 or 2 of these storylines rather than trying to do all of these at the same time. The main thing I've got that's bad is how Foggy is acting through all of this. I thought he was very whiny through season 2. When he found out that Matt was Daredevil in season 1, I really didn't like the way that he was acting too. I understood that Matt had been lying to him this whole time, but it's the thing that a lot of superhero stories do negatively. I don't think any of these stories really handle the reveal of the secret identity to their loved ones very well. They always seem to take it super, super bad, and I understand. You were keeping a secret from somebody who was super close to you, somebody who really thought they knew every single thing about you. I get it, but it's the presentation here, and it's the way that Foggy acts, and it's the fact that in season 1, that's where Foggy found out about the secret. That's where Foggy found out that Matt was Daredevil. Season 2, it's like, okay, you've had about a year to understand what's going on here, and you're still constantly telling Matt what to do with all of this, trying to sway him away from this. I thought that kind of dragged the plot down. I understand Matt was a bit of a flake through this, so Matt's not perfect in this either, but I just wish that storyline had been handled a little better, and I don't think it needed to be so heavy-handed in this season. That's the biggest nitpick I have against this season. Let's go ahead and move on to my final thoughts of Daredevil season 2. Final thoughts, guys. This was another great season of television. I didn't even talk about the hallway fight sequence. Each season of Daredevil has a one-shot hallway fight sequence, this time against the Dogs of Hell biker gang fighting Daredevil. Daredevil has this chain strapped to him because the Punisher had him tied up on the roof. He's got a chain strapped to him, and he's got a gun strapped to him in another hand. And so he's having to find new ways to fight, and it's really cool. The way he uses the chain, taking out lights with the chain. It's really interesting choreography, the way that they put all of this together. I didn't think it was as good as the season 1 hallway fight sequence, but this is a really, really good fight as well. Another great thing that I forgot to mention in the good category was Kingpin. Kingpin comes back in about 3 episodes of this season. He's the one that orchestrates Frank Castle's escape from prison. He's the one that convinces Frank to give up the trial and get himself put in prison as well. And that whole thing was really, really interesting. It kind of sets up where Wilson Fisk is going to be going further on in his story. He was the primary villain of season 1. He's just a supporting character in season 2. Not really a supporting character, more of like a guest character, but you're seeing all the stuff that he's going to be doing, setting up his story throughout season 3 of Daredevil. So it's really cool. He's becoming more of that Kingpin side, not just Wilson Fisk, but the Kingpin side of him is coming out. And so it's really cool. Even name drop the Kingpin in this too. So that was cool how all that played out. Wilson Fisk has a new lawyer now, the guy that kind of replaces the Wesley character. So I mentioned that there were missing pieces that you would be feeling going into these future seasons of Daredevil when I did my Daredevil season 1 review. Ben Urich, you feel his presence, but he is a missing piece. And I like how Ellison comes into the story and how he kind of is mentoring Karen now as he becomes her boss at the Bulletin, and how all of that story plays out. Now she's a reporter, no longer working at Nelson and Murdoch at the end of the story. Ellison kind of takes that Ben Urich spot. And so I think it was nice seeing the discussion of what happened to Ben. It was nice kind of feeling his presence, but there was something missing from this season. I feel like he was one of the pieces that was missing from it. I feel like Wesley to Kingpin was one of the pieces that was missing. That lawyer kind of replaces that character. You feel it a little bit, but not so much because Kingpin's really not in this too much either. Maybe that's the missing piece, is that Kingpin's not really in this a whole lot. So you kind of feel like Kingpin and Daredevil kind of go hand in hand, unfortunately. While it's nice to see other elements of Daredevil. You do have that side where it's more interesting to see the Daredevil Kingpin stuff together. It's nice that they were able to go outside of that a little bit with the Hand storyline in this season and the Punisher stuff in this season, but it also kind of brings the season down just a little bit because you are feeling that where's Wilson Fisk? I know he's in prison, but I would like to see more of his story. It's nice that we got some of that story in season 2. Whether or not that weighs the season down by him being in it not as much, or whether it makes it better because he's not in it as much, I don't really have a good answer for you there. It just feels a little weird. And then at the end of the day, season 2 of Daredevil was kind of a setup for the Defenders. It did stand on its own, but there was a lot of setup here, so you do have to deal with that as well. This is a very uneven season. It's kind of all over the place. A lot of competing storylines trying to vie for your attention. Is it going to be a Punisher storyline? Is it going to be a Hand storyline? It's the stuff between Matt and Foggy, the stuff between Matt and Karen. We're also setting up stuff with the Kingpin, all that stuff with the Hand and Stick and Elektra. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Nobu comes back. We thought he died in the first season. We realized that he can actually come back. He doesn't completely die when he's taken out. And of course, he is finally taken out by Stick at the end. There's a lot of new stuff happening here. A lot of story points trying to vie for your attention. So it's a little sloppy, but it's still very entertaining at the end of the day. If I'm going to give the season a rating, it's got to be a 4 out of 5 or a B+ on the letter scale. Probably the weakest season of the entire Daredevil series, but still a very, very good season at the end of the day. Guys, go down in the comment section and let me know what you thought of Daredevil season 2. I would love to hear your thoughts. Before you guys go, remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. Hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.